Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. In order to meet the Victober challenge of reading a book published in the same year as one's favorite Victorian book, I've been reading Benjamin Disraeli's Tancred, or The New Crusade, a novel about a privileged Englishman who travels to Palestine during the 19th century. I'll talk about the novel itself in an upcoming video, but today, as part of my continuing series, Cooking the Books, videos in which I discuss cookbooks, food, and eating, I want to talk about several cookbooks that focus on the culinary traditions of Palestinians. I really love the cookbook The Palestinian Table by Reem Kassis, published in 2017. The author is the daughter of a Palestinian Muslim from one region and a Palestinian Christian from another. I'm really taken with a story she tells in the introduction about when she planned to attend a top U.S. university. Her father's friends asked, "Why bother paying for such an expensive education? Don't you know, like all Arab women, she's just going to end up in the kitchen?" Indeed. I've cooked a couple of dishes from this cookbook so far. The first is chicken, onions, and sumac over flatbread, which I unconventionally serve next to spinach. Moussaka is sometimes called the national dish of Palestine, and it was delicious, with the depth of flavor that comes with sautéed onions and the bright citrus hints that the sumac brings. Because we don't have a taboon oven, we serve the dish over flatbread made from my sourdough starter. Afterwards, we served toasted bread pudding with cream and pistachios, topped with fresh raspberries. The crust of this vaguely cheesecake-like dessert is made with crushed Melba toast, soaked in sugar syrup, flavored with lemon juice and orange blossom water. What an interesting end to the meal. Delicate, similar in some ways to a dish for a tea party, but utterly different in its flavor profile. I've now made it once with mascarpone and once with ricotta, and I think I like the lighter version made with ricotta a little more. The second book I want to mention is Baladi Palestine, a celebration of food from land to sea by Judy Kalla. It's a lovely book full of a variety of breads and desserts as well as main dishes. This cookbook is a little heavier on meat and seafood dishes than a lot of Middle Eastern cookbooks are, so if you're a vegetarian, you probably won't want to own this book. The dish that I'm hoping to cook first, and very soon, is pan-fried eggplant slices with honey and tahini, a dish that combines sweet and salty in a way that sounds just fascinating. Kalla's introduction is lovely. She sat down with her mother and later with many other relatives to pull from them as many food memories as she could. The bond between cooking and memories, she says, creates flashbacks to another time, something that allowed her family to bring back traditions and re-embrace cooking old favorites. The third cookbook I'll talk about today is Zaytun, Recipes from a Palestinian Kitchen by Yasmin Khan, an absolutely fantastic volume for paging through on the couch and a very accessible book to cook from. Interestingly, although Palestinian cooks, including Reem Kassis, mentioned before, have fully endorsed this book, Yasmin Khan is an outsider who only began to experience Palestinian food a decade ago. As a human rights campaigner, as well as a food and travel writer, she traveled to the West Bank and to Israel. She was deeply moved by the realities of Palestinian life that she saw there, and also by the warmth of the Palestinian food she ate. Her book is full of information and photographs of various Palestinian regions, and I found it really helpful to have that background. I also found it really pleasurable to have all her personal stories. Sometime this week, we'll be having roast cauliflower soup topped with toasted almonds and fresh parsley, alongside frika pilaf with butternut squash and kale, garnished with pomegranate seeds. She also has a great recipe for the shaped and stuffed cookies, mamoul. I'll include a picture of my mamoul with two different stuffings, dates, pistachios, and rosewater, as well as dried cherries, hazelnuts, and orange blossom water. They were tremendous fun to make, using Chinese mooncake molds, I'm afraid, and they were fantastic to eat. I haven't yet tracked down Judy Kalla's first cookbook, Palestine on a Plate, Memories from My Mother's Kitchen. What I am most eager to glean from this book are her personal stories about watching her family cook and eat together as she grew up. I've heard that she begins her book with an excellent section on traditional Palestinian cooking techniques, as well as a description of ingredients used commonly in Palestinian cuisine. As is usually the case when learning to cook the food of another culture, one needs to build up a selection of particular spices and other ingredients all at once, and that can be kind of expensive if you don't anticipate using it up later. I gather there's much more emphasis on traditional home cooking in this book, made a little less involved to appeal to the cookbook buying market. The list of recipes sounds relatively similar to many of the other Palestinian cookbooks on this list. Since she seems to be presenting techniques for cooks new to the cuisine, I'm hopeful that Kala will help me perfect the layered rice dish, which is baked in a pot and then inverted over a plate, supposedly holding its shape and layers, but creating a giant mess when I try it. I'm also eager to find a copy of The Gaza Kitchen, a Palestinian culinary journey by Layla El-Haddad and Maggie Schmidt to read and to cook from. The book has been praised by culinary greats from Claudia Rodin to Anthony Bourdain, as well as Yotam Ottolenghi. From what I hear, it's full of recipes and beautiful food photography, but also photographs of home cooks at work, descriptions of regional variations in food traditions, and interviews with a variety of Palestinian people. I've heard that food in Gaza is a bit spicier than most Palestinian food, and that's a huge draw to me. Perhaps the most famous cookbook discussing Palestinian food is Jerusalem, a Cookbook by Yotam Ottolenghi and Sami Tamimi, a book which considers the cross-cultural food traditions of Jews, Muslims, and Christians. With one Jewish author and one Palestinian author, it is sensitive to the interweavings of how food is cooked and eaten by various peoples, and it treats this remarkably fraught, politically charged issue with gentle care and thought. I plan to talk more about this fantastic book, as well as the cookbooks Jerusalem Food, Bold Flavors from the Middle East and Beyond by Midel Kirsch, a Swedish Palestinian, and Divine Food, Israeli and Palestinian Food Culture and Recipes by David Haliva, a Sephardic Jew, in a future video, especially about how these three specific cookbooks directly address how the people of different cultures and regions of Israel and Palestine have shared many traditions while often remaining very separate. The people of this land have grown food in their gardens, cooked in their kitchens, and eaten meals around their tables, all while often living in very divided circumstances. I'm looking forward to discussing these books as soon as I can lay my hands on copies of Kirsch and Haliva's books, which I've not yet seen. Thank you for joining me today for another foodie discussion related to the books I'm reading. I'll be back soon with more talk about literature. See you soon.